Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So let's dive straight into this one, as we typically do here on Trinidad Empowerment Network. Our Prime Minister has just made what experts are calling a horrendous foreign policy blunder. A horrendous foreign policy blunder. One that could potentially drag Trinidad and Tobago into the middle of a conflict we have no business in. Before I move on, I want to say this. Thank you to taking us to 10,000 subscribers. This channel was built on the back of you, not me. I bring you the information as best as I can, but because of your engagement, this channel has grown rapidly. We are in the top 1% of YouTube channels, and that's because of you. So thank you. So here's what happened. Our Prime Minister openly backed the United States in its brewing confrontation with Venezuela. Even suggesting that American forces could use our territory if necessary. She made that decision off her own back. Didn't consult Caricom. She made it off her own back, of her own back. Now, on the surface, she framed this as support for Guyana. That's the framing of it. But I want to be clear. Offering a military base is not just supporting Guyana. It's making Trinidad and Tobago a US military ally. And that means if this conflict escalates, God forbid, if this conflict escalates, we could become a direct target. America does not care about Trinidad and Tobago. We are simply collateral. Now, retired IIR Director Dr. Anthony Gonzalez said it best. If America gets into a war, we could become a target. Venezuela has already mobilized over 4 million militia. You would have seen that on my previous video, 4 million militia. Do we really want Port of Spain painted as a military outpost for Washington, for Donald Trump, for America? This is utter insanity on a level I'm finding it difficult to comprehend. Now, other experts, I should say, like Professor Christopher Charles from the University of the West Indies and Professor Andy Knight warned that the Prime Minister's position is dangerous. If you don't believe me, look into what the experts are saying. They're saying it's dangerous because it not only risks antagonizing Venezuela, but also threatens to fracture Caricom's unity. And they are completely right. One of the biggest strengths of small Caribbean nations is speaking with one collective voice. One collective voice under Caricom. Kamla's decision completely undermines that. Completely undermines it. Playing right into the Donald Trump playbook. This is dangerous. Now, other experts like the St. Vincent Prime Minister, said it plainly. Security matters. It matters because this should be handled at Caricom level. It should be handled at Caricom level, not by one country making side deals with Washington. Even David Abdullah, if you know who that is, called it a day of shame. He called it a day of shame, accusing the Prime Minister of repeating a false US narrative about drugs cartel. This really acts as a cover. It's simply a cover for military aggression. This has nothing to do with drugs cartel. This is simply a BS cover story. So let's get real again here. Let's get real. America could care less about Trinidad and Tobago. This should not be breaking news to any of you. You should have seen it in what JD Vance, the vice president, said about us. If this conflict escalates, God forbid, this escalates, Washington isn't coming to defend us. America isn't coming to defend us. We are simply collateral. I said this in the previous video, and this is already playing out. Look at JD Vance, the Vice President of America. He openly painted us. He openly painted Trinidad as crime-ridden and reminded Americans not to travel there. He reminded Americans why we're on a level 3 advisory list. That was not by accident. He is not painting us in a good light. That was simply setting the tone. He was setting the tone. So when US leaders describe us, when they describe us like this to the world, they are not in any way signaling partnership with Trinidad and Tobago. They are signaling that Trinidad is expendable. We are expendable to them. They are putting us in the same box. They put Venezuela as unstable, as unsafe, and as disposable in their eyes. This is what you must understand. So the idea that we are cozying up and America, all of a sudden, we've given them something, so they are, by default, our allies, is for the birds. So while our Prime Minister is busy aligning herself with Washington, Washington has already shown they do not respect us. They don't care about us. They don't value us. And they certainly would not protect us. If you believe this, you are delusional. And the people who believe this, you should have your head examined. They are coming from particularly one side of the political aisle here. And we know who that is. We know what side that is. Now, I want to step back. I want to step back for a minute and explain why this moment is so dangerous. But also why I'm not entirely surprised. I said before, the election that or any incoming government in Trinidad and Tobago was going to face a tumultuous time because of the current geopolitical landscape. I said this, if you go back to I take no pride in this, by the way, but I predicted this. And if you look at what's happening, the return of Donald Trump, his extreme tariff policies, his America First approach, and his open hostility towards migrants, none of that is good for Trinidad and Tobago. None of it. It was clear to me this would mean higher prices. It would mean a cost of living crisis. It would mean stagnant wages, not because I wanted to be right on this, but because the writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall. It was clear as daylight to me. It was clear to see. I regret that regret that I'm right on this. I regret that I am right on this. And here's the reality. Trinidad, like I say to you over and over again, Trinidad relies heavily on America. We import roughly 80% of our food and around 40% of its trade, of our trade, flows directly through the United States. That makes us dangerously dependent on the United States. And when you are that dependent and don't truly have sovereignty, if you do not know what sovereignty is, look it up, I suggest. When you are tied to the decisions of another country, if Trump decides to punish nations who don't play along with America's rhetoric, by default, our food supply, our trade and food supply could be disrupted overnight. We rely too heavily on this country. We must break the cycle. This is not breaking the cycle. And that's why I say this isn't just about politics, it's about survival. A country that cannot feed itself is vulnerable. And Trinidad, like many Caribbean nations, is vulnerable because we have allowed ourselves to become so dependent on the United States. Successive governments, whether that be the PNM, the UNC, alike, have allowed this to happen. They have allowed this to happen. So the bigger picture here. The tribalism in Trinidad and Tobago. This is where the tribalism in Trinidad and Tobago comes in, particularly in Trinidad. So many of us, or too many of us, defend our party blindly, no matter how destructive their decisions are. From my own experience on this channel, the tribalism is much worse on one side than it is the other. But the truth is, both parties have failed to protect our long-term interest. So you may ask yourself, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Right now, America is on our doorsteps, threatening our neighbor. Whether we like them or not, Venezuela is our neighbor. And we, as Trinidad and Tobago, are stuck in the middle. We are stuck in the middle. To stand up to Washington and a man-child like Donald Trump is to risk food shortages and trade blockades. This is a position we're in. But to roll over and play puppet, also risk making us a target in someone else's war. Whoever said politics in Trinidad was easy? This is the trap we are currently in. And it's a trap we created by depending on foreign powers, to feed and sustain us. So, 10 family. Let me be real. Let me be clear. Our government isn't about to address this emergency anytime soon. They are too busy playing politics. So it's on us, the people, to demand better. If we don't, this will only get worse. And one day, our children will look us in the eye and ask, what did you do? What did you do when you saw the storm coming? And I hope you're able to live with that when they ask you that question. This is the fight we did not ask for. But it's the fight we must take on if we want Trinidad, or we want a Trinidad that is truly free, a Trinidad that's truly sovereign and united with our Caribbean brothers and sisters. This is where we are. This is where we are currently. So I can't dress this up anymore. My hope is this de-escalates. We walk with faith, we walk with God, and I hope this de-escalates soon. In my heart, I believe it will. I believe it will. But we cannot allow this to continue. We cannot allow this to continue. We must do better. So I'd keep an eye again on how this transpires. Keep my ear to the ground. I'd bring you updates as best as I can. And like I said to you on my previous video, I hope this de-escalates and de-escalates soon. For our sake. For our sake. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on my next video. For now, much love. God bless. Take care. Peace.